Journalism. Journalism is concerned with collection and dissemination of news through the print media as well as the electronic media. This involves various areas of work like reporting, writing, editing, photographing, broadcasting or cable casting news items. Journalism is classified into two on the basis of the medium: print journalism and electronic journalism. Print journalism includes newspapers, magazines, and journals. In print journalism, one can work as editors, reporters, columnists, correspondents, etc. Electronic journalism includes working for radio, television, and the web. In web, skilled people are required to maintain sites by web newspapers and popular newspapers and magazines that have their own web editions. In electronic journalism, one can be a reporter, a writer, an editor, researcher, correspondent, and anchor, well as a highly paid one. Journalists play a major role in the development of a nation. It is through them that we get information about the daily happenings in the society. The purpose of journalism itself is to inform and interpret, educate, and enlighten people. The opportunities for journalists are endless, and at the same time, the job has become more challenging as the new world is proving the adage that the pen is mightier than the sword. Simple reporting of events is no more sufficient. More specialization and professionalism in reporting is required. Journalists specialize in diverse areas such as politics, finance and economics, investigation, culture, and sports for newspapers, news channels, and periodicals. Rapid development of technology has opened up innumerable opportunities in the electronic media. Public access to information and entertainment is growing day by day. The electronic media, comprising of the radio and television, has an edge over the print media as events and developments can be instantaneously transmitted the world over. The different jobs in electronic media require specific skills or talents that contribute towards making the team complete. There can also be separate teams doing pre-production, production, and post-production work. There are a lot of opportunities and job prospects in journalism. 1. They can be the chief editor or the resident editor. The chief resident editor is in charge of the overall functions of the publication. His primary responsibility is to supervise the functions of collection, selection, and presentation of news. He reads and corrects the copy for publication, decides on the editorial policy and the content of the publications. Resident editor is in charge of a particular edition, for example, the Chennai edition, the Mumbai edition, etc. Sub-editor. They assist chief editor in selecting and sorting the contents. Their job involves rewriting stories to fit the space assigned, improve the language, insert punctuation, etc. They also give headlines and help in page layout. There are a number of sub-editors for each newspaper. The chief sub-editor is in charge of the team of sub-editors and he assigns works and coordinates and supervises them. He acts like a link between the chief editor and the sub-editors. The news or the feature editor. He is the right-hand man of the chief editor and he decides on the news to be published in the newspaper each day. He collects news, controls the network of correspondents, reporting staff, and other news sources, allocate assignments, and attend editorial conferences. The associate editor. He directs the preparation of a section of newspaper, magazine, or television or radio segment, and he prepares news, features, articles, critical reviews, and plans the layout of the publication, assigns reporting staff and photographers to obtain coverage of matters of news or interest related to his section. Proofreader. A proofreader compares proofs and edited copy to ensure that the final text is complete and accurate and that the spelling and the punctuation are correct before final printing. They mark proofs for correction, check revised proofs to ensure that the corrections have been made. They must have sound knowledge of spelling, punctuation, grammar, and should be able to pay particular attention to detail and retain concentration for a long period. The reporter. He is the one who reports events as and when it occurs. The reporter is said to be the eyes and the ears of the newspaper. Reporters attend press conferences, conduct interviews, visit sites of major occurrence and gather first-hand report and present them in an unbiased manner. Their job involves a lot of traveling. A chief reporter is in charge of the team of reporters and assigns work to the reporters. Main newspapers employ reporters in all major cities. Correspondent and special reporters. They are reporters for special purposes and their tasks involve reporting on a particular topic like the politics, foreign affairs, sports, finance, etc. They often report on news covering their area of expertise from a place where the particular event is happening. Their aim is to interpret or explain news and comment on the events, trends, and causes behind it. Special correspondent must choose the concerned field in which he has special interest to make success out of it. Usually one must have sufficient experience as a reporter to become a special correspondent. The writer. A writer chooses themes or subjects for written work, conducts research into the subject, assembles background material, and obtains other necessary data. Writers may specialize in journalism, fiction writing, children's books, educational textbook writing, historical writing, and transferring oral histories into written form, humor or comedy writing, and so on. In journalism, writers can be feature writers, leader writers, writers for multimedia and web, and so on. The feature writer. Feature writers write detailed stories or presents commentaries on specific news topics. They research and analyze facts and draw conclusions on a particular topic. They can cover any topic of public interest like interviews, organizing data and evidence, feature story leads, etc. Feature writing is more descriptive and detailed than news reporting. The leader writer. He gives ideas on new topics in the editorial columns of newspapers or magazines and discusses prospects of improvement with trainee writers. Writing for multimedia and the web. Writers are required in multimedia and World Wide Web for writing news and other articles. They must have a skill for writing precise text adaptive to the environment. If you can communicate your ideas through graphics, animation, etc., it is an added advantage to this field. Columnist. They are writers who contribute regularly to a publication. Usually one column on a general or specific topic is devoted to the writer. They write a regular segment within their particular interest category like gardening, fashion, politics, films, etc. The columnist usually projects a point of view and could either be a commentator or a critic. They review developments in special areas they write on and may contribute to a number of newspapers on the same time. Critic. A critic needs to be well-read, have adequate knowledge and experience in his respective field. One can be a critic in various fields like film, art, drama, etc. Only persons having good knowledge about the particular subject can authoritatively write about the subject. The photojournalist or the news photographer. They are visual reporters and the photojournalists accompany reporters on assignments to take pictures that support a news story, feature or interview. They must know what makes a good news picture, be able to write accurate captions, work well with the reporters, be quick, often work under difficult conditions. They must have good knowledge about technical aspects of photography like lighting, speed, etc. to take photographs apt for the particular situation. Fashion journalist. He is an overall in charge of a fashion magazine. It is through him that the general public gets to know the latest fashion trends. He should have excellent taste for fashion and keeps himself abreast with the latest fashion news, consumer reaction to new collections, fashion shows current and future trends in color, design, and fabric. Today's fashion journalist has a bright scope for employment as there is a need for exclusive articles and programs with the development of fashion industry. Cartoonist and illustrator. He makes a social or political comment on public figures or events in the form of a cartoon that is funny as well as witty. A cartoon is one man's view of the world. Why do we study? What is the end of education? Isn't it careers? But when there are so many careers to choose, how do I choose the right career? How can I make my decision right? My future depends on my decision. Which career is the right choice? Careers are confusing. Should I decide my career based on my potential, my capability, my talent? Or should I focus on what are the opportunities available and work on what are the opportunities in society? How do I choose? Environmental conditions, family conditions, my genes, opportunities. It's also confusing. Careers, a tough choice.